All right, so let's jump right into the world of Formula One. Specifically, we're going to be talking about Aston Martin today and their ambitions for the future. We're basing this deep dive on a really insightful interview that their team principal did with soymotor.com.
Yeah, and I think what really struck me reading through this is just how candid he was. You can really get a sense of their mindset and their strategy moving forward, which is really cool.
Yeah, totally. And he doesn't waste any time setting the tone. Right out of the gate, he says, everything is possible. We're ambitious. We want to win races. We want to win championships.
Yeah, I mean, that's a big statement, right? But what I find really interesting is he doesn't just leave it at that. He actually gets into the specifics of how they plan to achieve those goals.
hmm
He uses this phrase, I think it was methodical engineering.
Yeah, I love that methodical engineering. So what does that actually mean in this context?
Well, it seems to be all about having a very data-driven approach. So they're not just kind of throwing things at the wall and seeing what sticks. They're really analyzing why their 2024 car had some issues, and they're using that data to inform the development of the 2025 car, which I think is a really smart approach because sometimes in Formula One, you see teams get a little bit emotional and they'll make these kind of knee-jerk reactions. But Aston Martin seems to be playing the long game here.
Yeah, for sure. And thinking back to their 2024 car, the team principal described it as being peaky and difficult to drive. What did he mean by that?
Yeah, peaky essentially means that the car's performance was very inconsistent. So you can imagine a car that might be super fast on a straight road, but the moment you hit a corner, it becomes really unstable and unpredictable.
Ah, I see. So it's kind of all over the place.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
So for 2025, they're really focused on creating a more benign and drivable car.
right. So something that's much more predictable.
Exactly. He really stressed the importance of having a car that the drivers can really push to its limits without constantly fighting it. So that way, Fernando Alonso and Lance Stroll can extract the maximum performance.
Yeah, that makes sense. And speaking of Alonso, he actually mentioned that a successful season for them would be matching last year's fifth place finish in the championship. But then when he was asked if they could achieve even more, the team principal's response was just like, everything is possible.
Oh, I love that. Like, you can really sense that ambition there. But it's not just like blind optimism either, right?
Yeah.
He has this underlying belief in their process and this commitment to continuous improvement.
Yeah, for sure. And that philosophy really seems to permeate the whole team.
Absolutely. He emphasized that continuous improvement isn't just about the engineering side, it's about communication, it's about human resources, it's about every single department.
Yeah.
He wants to foster this culture where everyone is constantly learning and striving to be better.
Yeah, that's so important, especially when we think about the big shakeup coming in 2026 with all the new regulations. So how are they balancing developing the 2025 car with these looming changes just kind of hanging over their heads?
Yeah, that's the million-dollar question, right? He acknowledged that they are already working on the 2026 car, but of course resources are limited. It's this real tightrope walk, trying to make progress on both projects without spreading themselves too thin.
Especially because testing for the 2026 season starts earlier than usual, right, at the end of January.
Exactly. So those early races in 2025 become even more crucial because the data they gather from those races will be absolutely vital in shaping their 2026 car.
It's like they're trying to solve two sides of a puzzle at the same time.
Yeah, and figure out how they fit together exactly. And I think one of the biggest pieces of that 2026 puzzle is going to be the engine, which is going to play a massive role under the new regulations.
Yeah, and this is where things get really interesting because Aston Martin is becoming a works team and partnering with Honda for their engine supply.
It's a massive development, and this works team status basically means they're going to have a much closer relationship with Honda and a lot more influence over the engine's development. It's like moving from being just a customer to being like a collaborator.
Right, and I mean, Honda has an incredible track record in Formula One,
Yeah.
especially their recent championship success with Red Bull.
For sure. And you can tell that the team principal is really excited about this partnership. And he actually has a background as an engine specialist himself. He was so impressed with Honda's facilities and their dedication to pushing the boundaries of engine performance.
Yeah, it seems like a perfect match, both driven by this shared ambition to innovate and achieve greatness. But, we have to remember that developing engines for these 2026 regulations is a massive challenge for everyone.
Oh, absolutely. All of the engine manufacturers are grappling with these significant changes, particularly with things like fuel efficiency and the use of hybrid systems.
But the team principal seemed to view these challenges as a positive thing. He even said that if you're not encountering failures during development, you're probably not pushing hard enough.
Yeah, that's such a great point. It's this mindset that embraces risk. because they know that failures are just stepping stones on the path to innovation. It's that continuous improvement idea in action.
Exactly. And speaking of pushing limits and innovation, we can't forget the bombshell announcement that shook the F1 world. The legendary Adrian Newey is joining Aston Martin.
Yeah, for anyone who might not know, Adrian Newey is basically a design genius. He's designed championship-winning cars for several teams, and his arrival at Aston Martin is a major coup.
Yeah, it's huge. It's like they're assembling a dream team to tackle these 2026 regulations.
It really does feel that way, and it'll be fascinating to see how Newey's design philosophy influences the development of their 2026 car. He's known for these innovative approaches and his ability to really push the boundaries of what's possible.
So it'll be really cool to see what he comes up with for 2026. But with all this talk about 2026, we can't forget about the upcoming 2025 season, right? What are their realistic goals for this year?
Well, Alonso mentioned that matching last year's fifth-place finish would be a good result. But remember, the team principal said everything is possible.
Right, like never count them out. But realistically, what are their chances of exceeding that fifth-place finish?
It's tough to say. A lot depends on how the other teams perform. You've got Red Bull, you've got Ferrari, you've got Mercedes. They've been the dominant forces in recent years, and they're going to be tough to beat.
Yeah, for sure. Those teams have enormous resources and some of the best drivers in the world. But maybe these 2026 regulation changes could shake things up a bit.
Oh, absolutely. These new regulations are a big unknown. Teams that have mastered the current formula might struggle to adapt, while others like Aston Martin, who are embracing these changes from the outset, could have a real advantage.
So it's a bit of a wild card, which makes the 2025 season even more interesting.
Yeah.
It's not just about points and championships. It's about gathering valuable data and learning for the future.
Exactly. They need to use this season to test different setups, experiment with different strategies, and really get a handle on what works and what doesn't. This data will be crucial in informing the development of their 2026 car.
Yeah, it's like they're running a year-long experiment, using each race as a data point.
And the results of that experiment could determine their success in 2026 and beyond.
Exactly. And it's really cool to see how they're using this time to build a strong foundation for the future.
Yeah.
And they're not just relying on technology and data either. They're also focusing on building a strong team, fostering that culture of continuous improvement we talked about.
Right, because at the end of the day, Formula One is a team sport.
Speaking of the team, let's talk about the drivers. We've got Fernando Alonso, two-time world champion. But he's not getting any younger. Can he still compete at the highest level?
That's the big question, isn't it? He's incredibly experienced and still incredibly fast, but age inevitably takes its toll on even the most elite athletes.
Yeah, for sure. And then you've got his teammate, Lance Stroll. He's had some impressive moments, but can he consistently deliver results at the top level?
That's another piece of the puzzle. He's shown flashes of brilliance, but consistency is key in Formula One. If he can find that consistency and really push Alonso, that will be a huge boost for the team.
Yeah, and we can't forget about the dynamics between the two drivers. Will they push each other to be better, or will there be tension and rivalry?
Right. Team dynamics are so crucial in Formula One. Having a cohesive and supportive team environment can make all the difference. If they can work together, share data, and learn from each other, that will be a huge advantage.
Yeah, it's fascinating to see how all these different elements, the car, the engine, the drivers, the team,
Yeah.
all come together to create success in Formula One.
Yeah.
It's not just about having the fastest car, it's about the entire package working in harmony.
And then, of course, there's the element of luck. You can have the best car, the best drivers, the best strategy, but sometimes things just don't go your way. A well-timed safety car, a sudden downpour, even a tiny mistake can change the outcome of a race.
Yeah, that's what makes Formula One so captivating, right? You never really know what's going to happen next.
It's a roller coaster of emotions with highs and lows, triumphs and disappointments. And Aston Martin seems to be ready to ride that roller coaster all the way to the top.
So what's your gut feeling? Do you think Aston Martin can really be a championship contender in 2026?
I think they have all the ingredients, the ambition, the resources, the talent, but it's not going to be easy. They face stiff competition, and the 2026 regulations are a major unknown.
Yeah, for sure. But they seem to be relishing the challenge. This team principal, he's got this infectious enthusiasm, this unwavering belief in their ability to succeed. It's inspiring.
It is, and it's a reminder that success in any field, whether it's Formula One or something else entirely, often comes down to mindset. It's about having the right attitude, the willingness to embrace challenges, and the unwavering belief in your own potential.
It's a great takeaway. So while we wait to see how things unfold on the track, we can all learn from Aston Martin's approach.
Yeah, it's amazing to see how a team's philosophy can have such a huge impact on their approach to such a complex sport.
Right, and I think this whole conversation about Aston Martin really underscores that success is about more than just having the fastest car or the most money.
Yeah, it's about having a clear vision, a solid strategy, and a team that's all rowing in the same direction.
And never stopping that process of learning and improvement, that's what really stood out to me from this interview, that commitment to constant evolution, not just in engineering, but across every aspect of the team.
It's like they're building a culture of excellence, where everyone is empowered to contribute and strive for their best. Exactly, and that's something we can all apply to our own lives, regardless of what we do. Whether it's learning a new skill, tackling a challenging project, or simply trying to be a better version of ourselves.
Yeah, it's about having that growth mindset, always seeking new knowledge, new perspectives, new ways to improve.
And not being afraid to make mistakes along the way. As the team principal said, those failures are often the best learning opportunities. If you're not pushing your limits, you're not growing.
So as we wrap up this deep dive into Aston Martin's F1 ambitions,
Yeah,
I think we can all take away some valuable lessons.
absolutely. It's been a fascinating glimpse into the inner workings of a team that's clearly on the rise.
And who knows, maybe we'll be witnessing the birth of a Formula One dynasty in the making.
It's certainly going to be an exciting journey to watch unfold. Only time will tell if they can achieve the ultimate goal of winning a championship.
But one thing is for sure, Aston Martin is a team to keep your eye on. They're ambitious, they're innovative, and they're not afraid to challenge the status quo.
And with that mindset, anything is possible.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive. We'll be back soon with another fascinating look behind the scenes of the world of Formula One.